put this recording and let's start. So hello and good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. And on behalf of the KYKLOS project, I want to thank everyone very much for joining us today in this webinar, where we will be providing you hopefully informative overview of the first open call for projects that we are planning and will launch next week already, starting April the 1st. So my name is Samuel and I'm with F Success Network Limited. We are one of the many partners of the KYKLOS project, and particularly we are responsible for the coordination of the open calls that KYKLOS will organize. Today we'll be focusing on our first open call, which, as I mentioned, is open to submission starting as early as next week on the 1st of April and will run until the end of June. So plenty of time to prepare and submit your ideas for projects. And just for your information, we'll be organizing a second call sometime mid-2022. But more details on that in the open call in a few minutes. I have with me today Jason Mansell-Rementeria from Technalia, who is our project coordinator. He'll be providing you an important overview of the open call, of the KYKLOS project, which we hope is informative and helps you also align your project concept idea with the KYKLOS project objectives and what the project also has to offer. So just overall with these open calls, what we want is to help you and to help create opportunities for organizations to implement innovative ideas in the domain of digital manufacturing. That is, in fact, our core concept domain. It's what we'll be looking for in the submissions. And so before I give the floor to Jason, just a couple of organizational issues. For the question and answer session, we kindly ask if that's okay for you to rename yourself to the first, last name, and the entity you represent. That'll be easier for us to engage with you further on. There will be a specific slot for questions and answers. Just to keep things a bit clean in the process, do raise your hand or use that tool and we'll open the mic for you. If we do miss you, you can always use the questions in the chat box. So the moderator, that'll be me or my colleagues, will go through the different questions. And as I said, we'll open the mic. Just please wait for your turn. And other than that, while you're not speaking, please do keep your video and microphone turned off to avoid any issues. In regard to agenda, we'll go through a quick overview of the project, as I mentioned, delivered by Jason. Then I'll be presenting the open call, some tips when preparing a proposal. So hopefully some guidance, lessons learned, things that are useful to keep in mind. And then we'll go on to the questions and answers. Hopefully we'll be done within the hour and give you enough time to start your idea and be ready for launching next April 1st. That being said, thank you again for joining. And I believe, Jason, you'll be able to open your mic and go over the KYKLOS project overview. So again, thank you very much. We hope this is informative.
Okay, thank you, Samuel. Well, thank everyone for joining. I'm Jason Mansell from working in Technalia Research Center in Spain, project management of KYKLOS4.0 project. Basically, I will try, it's only 10 minutes, so I will not be able to go into much detail, but I'm open always to answering questions even beyond this telco. I have no issues, so if someone wants to share my email with you, I can just, you can ask and I will continue helping you in what we tend to do in KYKLOS. We have 3 million euros of funding that we have to give in focusing in what I will be presenting right now. Okay, so basically okay, Samuel, if you could, next slide. Okay, basically I will go quickly with this. Basically the title of the project is an advanced circular and agile manufacturing ecosystem based on rapid reconfigurable manufacturing process and individualized consumer preference. This is the overall title, and I think it's key names that we have to consider in the project, and I will present further on afterwards. We have a 4 years project. The last year of the project is mostly concentrating the open call. All the project's results will be ready in the 3rd year, but we'll still have an open call for the last one and integrated all the potential results coming out from the open calls potentially link them with all the project and be able to provide a unique and integrated, let's say, as we call it, next slide, please. Okay, well, this is the partners. I mean, you will have the slides, so you can go back to this. 29 partners, and we have 8 industrial pilots. So we are going to test both the results of the project within those pilots. And in case some specific open call project is looking for validation and so forth, we can analyze how we can do it within the project. That's one of the ideas, focusing on validating results in the real industry. Okay, so basically, why KYKLOS 4.0? Basically, this is something I guess we all know, but we are all going really slow in recognizing and trying to do something about it. Basically, manufacturing companies, we consume high volumes of energy and natural resources in our production making process. We tend to forget the future of the products, how we can actually bring them back to the cycle, how can we reuse, recycle, but also think of the own manufacturing process and something that must be circular if we want to address these issues. Basically, the overall cost of production is increasing every day, mostly because the energy prices are going high and are going to be continuously increasing in the future. And also the raw materials price are ascending, and this is directly linked to we should all know, I guess we all know, that basically we are ending the raw materials we are using right now. In the following 3 years, we have to rethink everything, and we have to use other materials or be able to make the manufacturing process really 100% effective and that does not, let's say, waste any of the resources used in the manufacturing process itself. So this is what KYKLOS was looking for. We have to optimize the manufacturing process now to ensure we are sustainable, not only in the manufacturing itself, but the world as a whole. And I think that's something we all should be worried about. Okay, next slide. So basically, we aim to provide, let's say, a technology ecosystem, which basically allows for and supports, let's say, the configuration of methodologies, new production techniques, decision making, and more tuned to actually the concept of resource consumption, energy consumption, and customer needs. And we have to take actions at all levels and stages of the manufacturing value chain in order to increase the energy efficiency. We know that if we analyze every production process, we will tend to find specific leaks in some of the process steps. So we have to be managing this in the overall as a unique decision support system or something like this. We have to decrease the use of raw materials because this can be done by using already used materials for specific products and introducing those part materials, pieces into the own manufacturing process to the reduction of reuse of raw materials. We have to also focus on not producing mass production based like we have been doing right now till now. But basically, I have to produce 5 million units, and okay, if I sell 3 million units, it's fine because I make the money. No, we have to think that we have to produce what is going to be consumed in a reasonable and sustainability way. And also, this is also linked to the on-demand manufacturing. We should not produce, I don't know, 10 million cars if we are not going to sell 10 million cars. This is something in automotive is already addressed. So this has to be extended to all kind of productions. Okay, so I'm sorry, I speak too quick. So maybe if you have questions and answers afterwards, you can just address. I mean, I'm trying to make as quick as I can this. So basically, we have to meet the industry 4.5. I would say now we are 5.0 objectives. Let's say we have to have operational excellence. There's no way to mistakes of waste of energy, waste of raw materials, errors in the products. That's no way. I mean, we have the techniques and technologies to to this not to happen, let's say. We have to change a little bit our way of thinking of mass commoditization and be more into a personalization production. And this will attend increasing efficiency, reducing the waste, and also boosting competitiveness. If we attempt to actually do what we have to do, then we will not have, let's say, holes where the money goes and nowhere, let's say. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is what we are thinking. We will deliver an advanced configuration variance framework, which we will be using state-of-the-art production paradigms, enabling key technologies into a unified platform ecosystem to manage live product innovation. This is a nice sentence for the, let's say, for project and so forth, but basically at the end, what we are thinking of, we are looking for how we are going to address in the different steps of the production cycle, introducing new techniques, new tools, new algorithms that potentially will be able to enhance and improve that specific phase, a phase or several of them. As an example, in the KYKLOS project, we are focusing right now heavily into the 3D modeling, 3D and 3D printing with different type of materials, nanocomposites and so forth, specific new materials, analyzing how this can be enhanced and used in the rapid prototyping so as to then test those products before they even go into the production life cycle. We are also working, for example, in augmented reality techniques in order to basically be capable of ensuring that the people working on the production line are actually trained in an easiest and fastest way with more efficiency, and we can even in real time analyze if things are not going the way they should be. But what else? I mean, we are also working in advanced algorithms, in artificial intelligence algorithms that could be potentially launched in the production environment, and will actually be able to identify things in the process that are in the future going to be wrong, let's say, due to the data, the parameters they're analyzing and so forth, and they will be able to inform let's say, several days or before these things happen, so the software can actually automatically update and resolve these issues. I mean, there's a lot of things here. Currently, the issue now is this: as results in our project right now, it's in month 16, and we just started developing in this January. Last year was all trying to come up together with all the pilots and seeing how we are going to do and what we're going to do. So we have, at this point, we have little to show, let's say, to you, so you can work over this, okay? We will have further information for when the projects are approved. We will be able to actually look in the proposed projects and say, okay, this you're proposing here is tightly linked to this component we have, and how we can help you in analyze how to go beyond what you're proposing, or even already tell you, okay, you can test this within this industrial setting or whatever. So, so basically, this is the overall picture in which we tend to link the specific advances that the Open Call projects could bring into the ground. I know it's wide, it covers everything, but I mean, this is as far as we are right now. We are at this stage. Next slide, please, because I think time is running off already. So I will not go into details. I think this is more overall view of the objectives of the project. So we want to have a decentralized, interoperable, agent-based business-to-business marketplace platform. The idea is at the end of the project to have let's say, a marketplace platform in which we can actually offer these specific products, services, or techniques that we have defined in the different phases. So when someone in a industrial setting is working in one way, he can come here and check, okay, my problem is, I don't know, my problem is maintenance. I'm not capable of identifying when I have to do whatever. We will have algorithms, predictive algorithms there that he could download, use, and so forth. So this is the overall idea. We are also working in a brutal product line orchestration model, and it's a interoperable folk architecture framework. Basically, it will be a product line engine that could be used for specific manufacturing processes if they do not already have their own, let's say, digitalized framework to actually be able to orchestrate all the different components, digital components they have. Okay, Samuel, how much time I have left? I think not much.
Maybe 2 or 3 more minutes.
Okay, so I will go back down. So basically, well, these are the different objectives we have. You can look at them afterwards, basically, but I think the more, next slide, please. I will not go into detail here. So this here, KYKLOS is the current ecosystem of tools and algorithms we are working in these different bubbles, let's say. We have a product line manufacturing model. We have hardware smart. We have EFPGAs to basically have work at down level within the machines to get the information and do something with it. We have decision support systems. We have a maintenance scheduler, which is dealing with algorithms underneath and so forth. I think this will give you, when you go back after the telco, you can look into this. These are some kind of things we are doing right now in the KYKLOS project, and you can ask me different things afterwards. So I don't know if this next slide I will come back to this one. Okay, this is more of the same. These are the different pilots we have in the industrial partners we have in the project. And we basically, this comes again to the initial state. What we are looking for is projects, tools, methods, algorithms, techniques, methodologies that basically address a specific phase or several phases in a production ecosystem, let's say, that will enhance and improve and enable the concept of the circular production system. Circular manufacturing, basically it means reducing the energy consumption, reducing the raw material usage, and also it means that at the end of the process, we have thought all the manufacturing process that when the product comes at the end of the process, we already have a plan for that product in order to be recycled or reintroduced or decomposed in different pieces, and those pieces can be introduced in their own production process, let's say manufacturing process. Next. Okay, this is more generic information of dissemination. So I mean, I will not go into detail in this. We can look at this. You can look offline, and I think that's more or less this. So one more. I will emphasize more on the same thing. Okay, we are looking to create an ecosystem that basically will allow everyone to reduce the energy consumption, reduce the raw material usage, but thinking of raw material coming from the earth, not coming from the recycled phase that you already have materials that are nearly raw already because you have cleaned them already. So, and introduce everything in the production process in order to produce just the products we have to produce and we are sure we are going to sell. Let's say that's my view of the overall target of the project. I don't know if well, maybe in the question and answers we can go back to this.
Yes, I will give. Thank you, Jason. We'll give the opportunity to our participants to place any questions that they have specific to either the project or to the open call. So thank you very much, Jason. So we'll move on now to the open call number 1, the rules, guidelines, everything that we hope and think that you need to know to submit a hopefully winning proposal. Basically I've divided this section into 8, let's say, main topics that you see listed. We're going to go through the objectives, the domains, what the timeline is, funding, how you can participate, the application form, the evaluation process, and just briefly to the sub-project implementation should you be awarded. So a quick guide to submitting your proposal. First point, objectives. So Jason has put it quite clearly what we're looking for, what KYKLOS is looking for, the fact that we're going to have multiple technologies that we will hopefully integrate also into awarded projects. But specifically within the framework of the open call, we're looking for SME-led consortia of up to 3 entities to submit proposals for the development of innovative solutions to improve digital manufacturing processes, which is a very broad topic, but as Jason just mentioned, there's a lot underlying concepts, technologies, tools that should feed into this key domain and idea that we have here. So basically, as part of the consortia of entities, one must be the leader, an SME must be the leader, and the project must also have an industrial partner, which is where, which will represent the pilot location where the, let's say, the experiment will in fact test what you develop within the framework of your sub-project. So again, stressing here the third point that digital manufacturing is the key domain, and one or more subdomains must be addressed, which we will present in the following slide. And again, as just mentioned before, the role of circular economy here is very important, and it should be very well described within the proposal. So overall, these are the objectives that we've defined. In terms of target domains, several, there's artificial intelligence, augmented reality, big data, circular manufacturing, decision support systems, life cycle analysis, product life cycle management, and of course you can propose others that are related to these or to digital manufacturing. This is just a short list that we defined, identified as being the most related, but of course, if you have an idea within digital manufacturing, if you see some other subdomain that is linked, this is of course eligible. You can present it, justify it, and it will of course be evaluated as part of the open call evaluation procedure. So in terms of timeline, as I mentioned at the beginning before the presentation started, we're launching the open call next week, Thursday, April the 1st. It'll be open for 90 days, approximately until the end of June, so 3 months, which should give plenty of time to develop a solid concept, allow you to think of how you can best integrate your idea within the framework of the KYKLOS project, how you can address one or more different subdomains. So basically plenty of time to think. As we'll suggest later on, this does not mean that you should wait until the last minute. It's always good to take your time to prepare and submit your proposal, but never leave it to the last minute. So we have 3 minutes for the launching process, starting July, and for another 3 months, we'll have the evaluation and selection procedure. So evaluation is going to be done by a group of external experts in the different topics that we've just seen. Then there's a specific, let's say, contracting phase selection where we're going to exchange a few emails with the awarded projects and ensure that things are well aligned. As Jason just mentioned, at this phase, we will also be able to discuss on a case-by-case basis what technologies we have within KYKLOS that are best aligned with the sub-projects that are awarded. And then we expect that there to be a mutual benefit. Not only do we think it'll improve or help, let's say, the actual sub-project implementation, but it will also help us within KYKLOS to validate the technologies that we're working on. So there's 6 months for the open call, after which there's an additional 6 months for the actual implementation phase, which I've put here, but I will go into a bit more detail further on. So in terms of the funding scheme, we have 1 million euros available for this first open call. As mentioned before, there's a 3 million euro, let's say, overall budget for open calls, which means that our second open call will have 2 million euros available. At this moment, we're going to fund a minimum of, we believe, 7 projects. We're seeing 6 to 8 projects, but at least 7. Any budget that for some reason is not consumed in this open call will be made available in the second one. The key item here that you might be questioning is how much can I receive? And the answer is clearly up to 150,000 euros for a consortium of 3 entities. So it is mandatory to have at least 2 partners, maximum of 3. If you're going for 3, if your consortium is 3 partners, the most you can, let's say, request is 150,000. But keep in mind that there is a limit of 60,000 euros per applicant. So if you're going for a project with only 2 entities, you can only claim both or request, let's say, 60,000 each, which would mean that your overall project budget would be 120,000 euros and not the 150. Similar to any other financial support program, activities that are already being funded by other grants cannot be funded by ours. So we're looking for innovative ideas, not previously or currently being funded. And also an important thing to keep in mind, if you are currently receiving funding even for a different type of project from a different let's say program framed within the Smart Anything Everywhere or the I4MS initiative, that should be clearly stated because there is a maximum limit of 100,000 euros for, let's say, each applicant in this case. So if you have a project ongoing that is framed within Smart Anything Everywhere or I4MS, and you already have, for example, 60,000 euros awarded from that project, then it's okay to submit to the KYKLOS Open Call, but keep in mind that you should not be requesting more than 40,000 to make up the difference to the 100,000 limit that we have. So hopefully here, this figure here at the bottom is explanatory. 1 million euros, 7 projects, 150,000 max budget for consortiums of up to 3 partners. How to participate is also an important aspect, and any participation requires that you register, sign up on the F6S platform to submit your proposal. So everything, all of the submission process, the evaluation process will be done through F6S. So it's important that you sign up and get your proposals submitted through there. Once the open call launches, you'll be able to access the application form, so that it'll only be available starting April the 1st. It is an extensive application form, but quite easy to fill out. Keep in mind that there are many mandatory items that have to be filled out in terms of the different participants, the proposal itself, information, abstract, summary of key items as well. But there is also a technical proposal that will be made available. It's a Word document, and this is basically the core idea of your proposal, where you will be requested to explain the concept of your idea, the concept and implementation, the impact, the consortium and the resources. But I'll get into that in more detail in a few minutes. Keep in mind that English is the official language, similar to other European programs. Submissions done in other languages will not be evaluated. Some questions have limited characters, 1,000 characters, 2,500, depending on the specifics of each question. And also the technical proposal template does have a maximum number of pages. So being specific, concise, objective is also very important. And as I mentioned before, it is strongly recommended to not wait until last minute. There's a very big time frame for this open call. So take your time, be thorough in the development of your concept. But again, do not wait until the end of the deadline to submit your proposal, because system failures, network failures are not considered a valid justification to accept anything that is submitted beyond the deadline. Also, an important information, and considering the fact that we've mentioned that there will be a second open call, but first, each applicant may submit up to 2 proposals in the KYKLOS open call. This is not very frequent approach, but in our open call that will be allowed. So if you submit more than 2 proposals for whatever reason, only the first 2 that are registered on the system will be considered. Also keep in mind that only 1 proposal will be accepted as a sub-project, and then the negotiation aspects will be built on top of that. Anything that, keep in mind also that if you are, for some reason, if your proposal is not awarded in this first open call, you are allowed to submit to the following open call that will be next summer. Okay, so a couple of important items to know in terms of how to participate in this open call. So the actual application form, as I mentioned, it is all done on the F6S platform. So as you can see, this is just a screenshot just for your understanding. Once you log into the F6S and click on the link, that will be available on our website or on different, let's say, platforms. You'll be redirected to what you see here on the left. And basically, it is not visible now, but it'll be on the left column, a direct link for you to connect with us or connect with F6S and the KYKLOS. And that'll bring you up, and that will, let's say, bring you to the page that you see on the right, which is just a part of the application form. As you can see, there's section 1 proposal identification. This is just part of the proposal itself. It has the different questions and the items that we request you to fill out as part of the proposal. Then you can submit once everything is done. There are different annexes as well that have to be prepared: declaration of honor, an SME declaration, a consortium declaration, which basically gives the powers to negotiate, to transfer the budget to the coordinator of the proposal. Okay, so as I said, you can see here on the second item that there's a lock. Starting April 1st, this will be available and you can freely submit your proposal. Just keep a note that there is a limitation in terms of the actual form. Once you submit, you have to, it's basically the submission is finalized. If for some reason you've realized you made some kind of mistake, you have to get in touch with us so that we can, let's say, unblock your your proposal, and let's say make it available again for you to make any changes necessary. This is not an automatic process for you. There has to be a specific request to us, and then we will unblock and make it, let's say, editable again for you to make any updates that you require. And again, for this reason, the fact that you might notice something last minute, some kind of mistake, something that you'd like to update, for this reason, we really recommend that you don't wait until the last minute, because there is a tendency to leave these submissions until the last minute, and then it'll be harder, let's say, to answer to everyone's requests. In terms of the proposal template, as I said, this is going to be available on the project, on the KYKLOS website for you to download. It'll be a Word template, and this is in detail the different sections that you have to provide. The overall, let's say, page length is going to be 10. So again, being concise, being specific, objective, and all those similar adjectives are important here. We're requesting detailed information in terms of the concept and objectives, how you plan to implement your project. In terms of the impact, what is the socioeconomic impact? How do you see your project being turned into a commercially viable project? Description of your consortium, and then of course the resources and costs. The application form, just some additional details. It is mandatory to upload this technical, basically what I just showed here, the proposal template, which is officially called Annex 3.1. It is also mandatory to upload the different annexes. These are basically, if we don't find them, then you, in principle, are going to be disqualified from the application process. As part of when you're preparing your proposal, do keep in mind that it is important to review all the items, all the annexes, make sure that everything is well prepared, all the signatures, the check boxes, tables, make sure that everything is well filled out and uploaded along with your proposal, because we won't accept any, let's say, sending of information through other means with exception to the actual F6S platform. Okay, and just for information, everything here is GDPR compliant. Information is requested because we needed to, let's say, process all of the application information. So we're only requesting the minimum information required to carry out transparent, but let's say, evaluation process. So once July 1st comes, all submissions are done, we move on to the evaluation phase. So in a very, let's say, direct manner, there's two main steps. We do an initial eligibility check of the proposals to make sure that documentation has been submitted, that in fact the consortium it consists of the type of entities that we're looking for, so SMEs, industrial partners, that you belong to a country framed within the Horizon 2020 rules or associated countries. We do this eligibility check. If you pass, that's great. You go on to the next part of the external evaluation. If not, we send a rejection letter justifying the reason for your proposal not being eligible. As part of the external evaluation, we go into a detailed review of all of the documentation of the proposal, of the online proposal, as well as the technical proposal that you've submitted. I'll show in the next slide what exactly we're going to check. Should the proposal be positively evaluated, then you go receive an acceptance letter and go into the sub-grant agreement phase. If it does not meet the threshold, if it is not, let's say, if it is not one of the top 7 proposals, then you receive a rejection letter. So specifically, and what the eligibility check looks at is confirming that applicants are legal entities eligible for EC funding under Horizon 2020 rules, that SMEs comply with the EC recommendations. So there's the head count, there's in terms of, let's say, annual turnover, et cetera. Of course, we're going to confirm that the proposal addresses the domain of digital manufacturing and additional subdomains. All annexes are provided and filled out correctly, and that the documentation is in English. So key items to go on into the external remote evaluation phase, where, as I mentioned before, all proposals are reviewed by 2 external experts. They're experts with knowledge in the area. At the moment, we are still, let's say, collecting these experts' expressions of interest. So closer to the deadline, we'll compile the evaluators and carry out the, let's say, the process of allocating evaluators to the different proposals. In terms of evaluating the proposal itself, what are we looking for? Concept and implementation, which is 30% of the evaluation score. We're looking for the objectives, novelty of the idea, the work plan, the level of innovation. We're also looking at impact, the industrial relevance, the market potential, the proposed commercialization and business strategy, your consortium, so what kind of competencies you have, what knowledge do you bring to the table, your technical capacity, how the different partners complement one another, and then of course, resources and costs. So what are you proposing in terms of costs? How are you going to use 150,000 euros? How is it distributed among partners? So different criteria here, different weights, and this is going to, the scores attributed to each one of these criteria make up your final score, which is basically how the evaluation process takes place. So before, just a slide just in terms of understanding what happens, what could happen if you are one of the 7 awarded projects. To the left, there's a subcontract, there's a sub-grant agreement process. As we mentioned at the beginning, on a case-by-case basis with each awarded sub-project, we discuss individually what kind of technologies, what kind of tools, modules, components that we have in KYKLOS that may be of value to your own project, your own experiment, and then let's say we discuss and align that specific part. Of course, the contracting phase has an actual contract that has to be signed, and then once that is done and settled with, we move on to the actual implementation, which is broken down into 3 stages. A first stage is a planning, basically where we request that you put your proposal idea into detail, put it into detail and a plan for like how are things going to roll out over the next couple of months. So basically at the end of that stage, we expect a specific deliverable, a report with that detailed plan. And then at that time, once, let's say the deliverable is approved, we, let's say, unlock the first part of your budget, which is 30%. Then there's the implementation phase where you actually do the implementation of your experiment, where you can, where all of the tools and technologies that we've made available are integrated and you test and validate, where you actually do the own validation of your own ideas. And then at the end of that moment, there is again another report that is required where we see the demonstration of experiments and the results, and 40% are delivered. And then there's a commercialization and business sustainability stage, which can be up to 1 to 2 months, where we expect to see what kind of, let's say, future you see for your solution. How do you see it being commercially viable? What is the business strategy? And then we, similar to the other 2 stages, we expect a deliverable focusing on that strategy in specific. So associated to each one of these stages, also there is support provided by KYKLOS. Different partners have different expertise, competences, and will accompany the different stages of the sub-project implementation, providing you mentorship, support, whatever is most useful for the successful implementation of your project. Okay, so it's important to know this is in a very, let's say, succinct way of what the open call is, what you have to keep in mind. All of this is present and detailed in a lot more detail, of course, in the guidelines for applicants, which will be made available to everyone. It will be on the project website, so you'll be able to download it, consult it in detail, take your notes, get in touch with us if you have any questions. Okay, so before coming to the end and moving to the questions and answers, should there be any, I'd like to highlight a couple of tips to keep in mind when preparing a proposal, which is nothing more than I've already said before. But again, it's very important that you download, carefully read all of the documentation. There are several annexes. Some are for reference, some are important for preparing the actual proposal. As I mentioned, pay particular attention to Annex 2, the guidelines for applicants, on which I based this presentation. So it's a more detailed, thorough explanation of everything that you have to keep in mind. A good suggestion is to look at what is requested from the online form, to put that into a Word document, for example, fill it out, and then before submitting, copying that information into the online form. So that in that case, you ensure that you don't lose any information. Again, being clear and specific is important. The proposal form has some limitations in characters. Specific questions have limitations, I should say. The technical proposal that you're going to upload also has a page limit of 10 pages. Some sections are a bit more flexible than the others. So it's important that you were specific in what you want to present, and also using words and selling your idea as best possible for the evaluators who are going to then judge the quality of your proposal. Again, the open call is going to be running for 3 months, so take your time, review carefully, clarify doubts, but submit well ahead of the deadline. So make the most of the time that you have. And this is the first, it's an informative webinar. We'll be organizing maybe another couple of webinars over the course of the next 3 months, providing other participants the opportunity to attend to understand a bit more what we're looking for in this open call. That being said, just a couple of links that are important to you. So visit our website for more information about the open call. You apply via F6S. There will be a frequently asked questions document available. Online questions, let's say discussion forum that you can resort to. If you have any issues with the F6S platform, there's a direct email to contact. Another support, there's an email that you can use to make any questions. That being said, thank you very much. Hopefully this has been, let's say, thorough enough to prepare you for your proposal preparation. Now we'll move on to any questions and answers. I see in the chat some questions already. Let me start with one question from Andrew Ferrugia. Hopefully this is well pronounced, which asks if there will be any matchmaking events. The answer to that is, as part of the initial, let's say, open call process, submission, etc., there's nothing planned. As part of the implementation process, there might, as part of the business and commercialization support activities that we plan, there might be something specific in similar to that. Matchmaking specifically hasn't been, let's say, defined, but again, each project is specific in nature, and if this is something that makes sense to the project that is awarded, then we'll of course see what are the best opportunities to support that project. If matchmaking is something useful, then of course it's something that we can consider. So hopefully that provides an answer to your question. Thank you, Andrew, for the question. Gaurav Das has a question. I'm going to open the mic to you. Feel free to ask your question, okay, Gaurav? Feel free to unmute yourself. And
before we go on, Andrew was replying also in the chat that basically he meant matchmaking to form a project consortium rather than for applying.
Yes, okay. So my first question is, what is this TRL level we are talking about?
We haven't defined a TRL, specific TRL level here, but I'm not sure, Jason, if you'd like to provide your input on, let's say, a minimum that we're looking for.
I mean, the minimum we would be, TRL depends what you're looking, but anyway, the TRL basically, we would be looking for a TRL that basically it's either the smallest one would be a prototype ready and validated in a specific setting. It has not got to be a real setting, but has been validated in laboratory, let's say. That would be the minimum.
Okay. Next is, so the deadline is for 31st of June, or?
Yes, the deadline for submissions is 31st of June.
Okay, good. Then there is the, you mentioned that for SMEs, there is this turnover and things like that. So is it, the turnover, that is linked to the SME definition, right?
Exactly, yes. I don't have the specific, let's say, wording with me. I didn't want to fill with, let's say, European Commission wordings, but there are 3 criteria for SME definition, which have to be kept in mind. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Next is, what is the rationale for this time frame you have set? Because how I see it, 6 months where you are expecting, different consortiums to do, demonstration, things like that, and then there's business case support and then, other things. So I would like to know the rationale.
For everything in particular, or just for
the project? Let's say if a consortium gets awarded, they have like 6 months, and in that 6 months, 2 months is for business support and things like that. But for the real implementation, it's like only 3 months. So all in all is 6 months. I would like to know what is the rationale, and is there something specific people should know when applying?
Well, the first month, as shown, I can quickly jump back just 1 second. Yeah, for example, the planning phase is because 1 month is mandatory at least to fine tune everything that, one thing is what you include in the proposal and you can assess, the evaluators assess it, but as a project, KYKLOS has to be, let's say, it has to engage with the awarded project and understand exactly what you plan to do. And there's a process of planning the actual experiment that you have to carry out. The implementation is 3 to 4 months because we're not looking for things that are developed from scratch. I think that would be basically impossible to develop something starting from zero and have it ready for validation and prototyping, validation, implementation within industrial, let's say, setting. Because of course, as one of the partners has to be industrial partner for the pilot to be implemented. So basically, something has to already, you have to build on something that already exists, and for that reason, let's say the time frame that is defined here is shorter because it's more of an integration of things that exist, building on top of what you already have, being able to use solutions, technologies that KYKLOS might have, and yeah, basically the idea is we're not developing things from scratch, so it's improving, taking something that already exists and let's say taking a step further with the support from KYKLOS. And then the commercialization, business sustainability aspect, we've defined it at 1 to 2 months because it depends on how much you're going to waste in implementation, but it is also important from the KYKLOS perspective, that you be able to develop something that has some kind of commercial potential, that you're developing some kind of minimum viable product that to the extent possible, we can also contribute to identifying maybe funding opportunities, other investors that can, maybe support the maturing of your idea, taking it to the next level as well. I'm not sure if I answered into the detail you were looking for your question, but basically that's the rationale behind, let's say, the definition of this open call, and also the fact that we have 2 open calls planned. Things have to be a bit more, squeezed in terms of actual implementation. But also note that, and it wasn't referred here, after the end of the 6 months, we expect that the awarded projects also have a particular focus on the commercialization and business sustainability aspect. So try, in fact, to explore to the extent possible, how their solution can, in fact, become more viable, be in fact a commercial product, and we're there to support that as well.
Okay, great. I have one last question. Can you provide me an example of a consortium composition? I mean, in your view, what could be like ideal composition you're looking? I mean, you can take a hypothetical example and explain, just to be, clear that we are in the right path. All
right. Well, the lead partner, the SME, would have to be, technology focused. So basically, they have to have let's say the mindset to develop something within the domain of some kind of solution, whether it be aligned with any type of the concepts or subdomains that we've defined. It's technology developer, integrator. And then in terms of the second partner, which has to be the industrial partner, industrial entity, that is where you have to identify a partner in which you can actually take your technology and say, okay, this is what I have. I'd like to install it in your, let's say, your manufacturing, your current manufacturing processes, and try to validate what I have in mind. Then you have a third partner, which isn't mandatory, but it's an option. And normally that partner would, to the extent possible, also be more focused on, let's say, generating more impact, maybe a specific partner that will help with the business, the commercialization aspects of the project. So let's say the third partner could be, let's say, a buyer. For instance, let's say you make a product, let's say, and then this third partner could be someone who actually buys your stuff and like tries out in their own application setting. Did I get it right? Not necessarily a buyer, but a partner with, let's say, a better capacity to help the commercialization aspect. The idea isn't to necessarily buy you straight away, but to help you, let's say, build, how can I put it in easier terms? I'd say make it a better product to sell, for lack of a better word. So it's not necessarily purchasing focused, because I would say it would be a bit difficult to have something already prepared for commercialization at the end of the project. So it's more about having someone with the knowledge to help also find the right type of people to for further investments and so forth.
Okay, understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. I think just jumping back to one of the questions that we had before from Andrew, the matchmaking, no, we don't have anything specific planned over the next 3 months in terms of, having a pool of different organizations that are looking to get together and matchmaking. So it's more of each partner, each organization has to sort of do this scouting identification on their own. Okay, and I think we have another question from Angelo Merlo. Let me open the mic to you. I think you should be able to talk now. Angelo? I hear some noise, but I can't hear your voice. Let's try again. No. Maybe you can put your answer in the chat, or if not, you can always feel free to get in touch with us afterward. Entities of the consortium could belong to the same EU country. Yes, in principle, there is no limitation to the fact that the countries have to come from different European countries. So they can all come from Spain, Italy, France, whatever the case may be. Thank you for the question. Okay, so I'll jump to my last.
Jason.
Yes, Jason.
Did you address Panos questions? Because
I did see a question from Panos. I'm not sure if it's still.
Okay, I see 6 of him. Okay. So basically what kind of partners are eligible? Only SMEs? I guess we already replied that no, it could be SMEs or other industrial partners helping the SME, but SME should be a leader.
Exactly.
I hope this answers the question. Is it possible to add more partners, more than one end user with no budget? Is something that will help evaluation of the proposal, or is it not acceptable?
No, our guidelines state that 3 partners, so we would probably keep it to that, up to 3 partners.
Okay. But I guess we can have one of those having no budget, and that's fine.
Yeah, we can.
He would play, let's say.
Yeah.
We already addressed it must be a cross-border consortium. We just said that that's not necessary, so it would be good, but not necessary. And what kind of expenditures are eligible? Is a lump sum funding? That's the question.
It's, let's say, expenditures can be used on human resources, on on materials, on the commercialization activities. I don't have all the details, but the guidelines for applicants is clear on the type of expenditures that are awarded, or sorry, are acceptable.
Okay. So maybe
there may be travel. Travel is also, if required, is also eligible. But as I said, the guidelines for applicants has the most detail on that.
So I guess maybe these questions were made directly to me, not to all of you.
Yeah, I think they were. I don't see them in my list, so I think they were directly.
I'm going to try and make a print screen so we can just
include
them to the general questions also.
Yeah, we'll make them. These questions that we've received are all very good because we can put them as part of our frequently asked questions as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're 5 minutes past the hour. So I just want to quickly have one last slide before we call it, before we end our webinar. And again, KYKLOS, this first open call launching next week until the end of June. What are we offering? What's important to keep in mind? We have up to 150,000 equity free for consortiums of 3 entities. If you're a 2-partner consortium, there's a maximum of 60,000 euros per applicant. An SME must be the leader industrial partner required for the pilot location. Up to 7 projects are going to be funded. A specific focus on digital manufacturing, and then several more subdomains can be explored. What are we offering in addition to the equity-free funding? Access to technologies that are being explored within KYKLOS. Again, this will be seen on a case-by-case basis. We recommend that you have a look again at the slides that we will make available, the presentation that Jason gave at the beginning. There's a list of the different, let's say, technologies, things that we're working on. So you might find some inspiration there as well. We're going to provide business and technical support, particularly in the second part of the implementation of the sub-project implementation. And lastly, visibility and promotion. This also includes the commercialization support, helping you find maybe other means of investment, connecting with investors, matchmaking, other business opportunities. What we're looking for, the kind of impact that we want to see is that KYKLOS supports innovative ideas, solutions to, hit the, through our project also to, take a leap forward, and we want to help that become a reality. That being said, thank you very much for your attendance. Keep in touch with us. These don't have the detailed links, but you'll be able to access our website, our social media accounts, which will be kept up to date with anything related to the open call. Our website has all the documentation that you will need to consult when preparing your open call. Again, the F6S platform, you can sign up today if you're not already registered, but the form will only be visible starting April the 1st. So don't be scared if you visit the KYKLOS, let's say, page on F6S and you don't see anything. It'll be visible on the 1st of April. So again, on behalf of the KYKLOS project, thank you very much for having attended today. Hopefully this was informative. We'll be organizing a few more webinars over the next couple of months. Keep in touch with us, look at the documentation, and most importantly, we wish everyone the best of luck in preparing your proposal. And hopefully the next couple of months we'll be in touch again. So thank you very much. Have a rest of a good day, a great week, and take care.